We're going to run it one more time. Hey, that was just a little precursor into the awesomeness that's going to be today. Welcome to Association Chat, an online discussion where we warm ourselves by the virtual fire with topics of the day, welcoming thought leaders and trailblazers alike to join up in this online home for the community. And before we get too settled, I'm going to tell you, wherever you are watching this, wherever you are listening to this, can you take a second? Hit the like, hit the subscribe, leave a little comment. Let me know if you like this show, if you want to see more of it, because that will tell the algorithm gods out there for each channel that you want more of this, that you're interested, and that you like us. And that would be good. So on to the show. Welcome to Association Chat. Today we are talking not about the should you, not about the do we. We're talking about the how-to of general AI and generative AI. And I'm going to be talking about this with a good friend of mine, somebody who I've known for years, someone who is an association pro in the industry, someone who is a part of the Association Chat Book Club, as a matter of fact, Liz Puster, who is knowledgeable and doing some wonderful things with her association, teaching people about this, posting about it, connect with her on LinkedIn ahead of time, talking about some of these tech tools that folks are still figuring out how to use. And here we go. Hi, Liz. Hey.
Hi, Kiki.
I am so excited that you are here with me today because, we have been talking about this stuff so much, and generative AI, understanding the differences between AI and generative AI has been quite the hurdle, but actually applying it and doing it and using it in associations is something that I think there's a lot of wait and see out there, but not with you all. You've been checking out what other people are doing, but you've been also sharing about what you're doing. And that's why I'm so happy to have you here today. Reed says, can I get the email link for the Zoom later? Yes, Reed, I see you. And I will be sending that to you a little bit later, just in time for 11 o'clock. Those who are watching live, there's a whole lot of new stuff. Liz knows this. Association Chat has some new channels, some new things we're trying out, including a recap that's just for an inner circle that's happening right after today's show. So send me an email, kiki@bigredm.com, and I will be sending those invite links to you in just a second. All right, let's talk about it. So Liz, give me a little bit of an idea about your role, your organization, and just a little insight for folks who may not have met you before, to understand where you're coming from and a little bit more about your perspective.
Absolutely. And I am so pumped to be here. What a great way to spend a Friday morning.
I know.
This is just so great. I'm just so excited. So like Kiki said, I'm Liz. I work with the South Carolina Association of CPAs. We are a state-based professional association that supports CPAs throughout South Carolina, but we do have quite a few members that live outside of that boundary, and we support them by protecting and promoting the CPA profession, right? That's what we're all in this for, is to protect and promote our professions. My role is the Director of Communications and Public Relations, which I love. I love doing communication stuff. I love doing marketing. I love being a tech nerd. That's kind of my side thing that I've always done. So when this generative AI stuff started popping up, we thought, well, we need to get in front of this. Our culture at SCAPA is very innovative and very forward thinking. And with that, we thought we need to just start dabbling and see where this goes. And it has revolutionized how we function in our day-to-day. And it has taken our tiny little staff of 9 and augmented it to where we're able to do so much more than we ever thought we could, and do it better than we were before. It's been really a lot of fun.
Well, and I think that the thing that makes me so excited about hearing what you're doing, and really folks, if you follow Liz, follow her on LinkedIn, because she's constantly posting. Everybody talks about Amit Nagarajan and what he shares from Blue Cypress. He shares an incredible amount talking about AI and associations. I think it's noteworthy that every time Liz posts, almost always he's down there commenting, "Good job," and like, "This is great stuff." So, like, if that's somebody that Amit is following, I think that, that's a good heads up that she's sharing some really insightful information. At least to me, that tips me off. But I already know, because the stuff that you're sharing, Liz, you're talking about some of the learnings, that the way that you're applying it internally, and also some of the ways that you're looking at sort of teaching about it and sharing, not just with staff, but also reaching out and sharing with the industry. And I just think that that's something that most association executives can really appreciate and learn from. So, I want to talk a little bit more about that and what really sparked your interest in generative AI in the first place. Because, as we all know, there's a lot of things that have come and gone. There's this, why not blockchain? Why not be focusing so much on cryptocurrency when it came out? Big topics, big tech topics. But you knew generative AI was different. You knew
Yeah.
that this was something that definitely had applications that you need to dive deep on. Talk to
Mhm.
me about that.
Yeah, so when, we started hearing about it, and I mean, here's the thing about generative AI, and this is something I learned from my dear friend Amit, is it is doubling every 6 months.
Yeah.
So we thought we've got to get in front of this, because one, our members are going to start wondering about it in their own businesses. So we have to be equipped to be able to teach and explain it. And associations always strive for relevance. We know that we're always questioning, how do we make sure that our value propositions are strong and that our members love us, and that renewals keep coming in. And we thought we've got we've got to start, and having a because I'm a person who loves to teach, and I want what's but I'm in associations because I want people to sleep better at night. I want to help other people do their jobs better. So I thought we've got to take these lessons that we are learning on our small but mighty 9-person team, and we've got to get this message out there, because I fear that if associations are behind the 8 ball on this,
Hmm.
we're going to lose relevance, and we can't. Associations are too powerful, but we have to stay relevant. And as consumer expectations start to rise and expect that they are going to have basically an AI experience, because that's where we are now, we can't be behind the 8 ball on that. We have to be in front of it. So we at Scappa started to dabble, and as we were learning things, we're like, other people have to know this as well. So I've been out there trying to spread just some very practical best practices on how you can use this very simply in your own organization, just to save some time and make a better work product. And it has been so much fun, and it's been successful. It's fun to see things starting to gain some traction.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because I would love to find out some specific instances where generative AI has had some kind of significant impact in your work with associations. And I'm like chomping at the bit to see more and more of your work. And folks, I'm so sorry to like constantly be referring to stuff that I know that you're not seeing right now, because I just have been able to like get some insight into some cool stuff that Liz has been doing. But why don't you share a little bit about like an example or a specific
Sure.
instance?
No, I would love to. So I'll start really simple, and then I'll move to some of the like cool, like cross modal stuff we've been doing. So, renewal letters, right? Like if
Mhm.
you're in the membership business, you write renewal letters all the time. I've been writing them for 20 years. And I mean, it gets stale, right? Like we're not supposed to say
Yeah.
that quiet part out loud, but like it gets stale. So
What? Form letters get stale? Are you
form
kidding?
letters and I mean, come on. I mean, and every year you think you've written the best one, and then it comes the next year, like, how do I top that? So, right around the time that we started our renewal cycle was right around the time that ChatGPT kind of became like this fun buzzword and everybody was talking about it and we need to get into it. So I thought, like, well, what if it all starts with a what if, right?
Mhm.
What if I have ChatGPT just freshen this up for me? And while it wasn't perfect, it was nice. It was nice to take this renewal letter that I'd written 14 times and put it into ChatGPT and say, freshen this up for me, not knowing how to properly prompt, not knowing any of those things, just a very simple freshen this up for me. And I got fresh copy and I was like, cool. And I made a couple of changes because you can never take it at first glance, right? So I made a couple of changes and then it was done. Something that I had spent hours of my time doing previously was done in 5 minutes. And I
Yeah.
thought, well, shoot, now what am I going to do with the rest of this time that I've blocked off for this? So that was a very like that was a baby step, right? That was a baby step in the right direction. But probably one of the coolest things that we've done recently is, there's this, there's something that's coming out in the tax world. It's called the Corporate Transparency Act that became effective on January 1st that requires companies to do some beneficial ownership information reporting. And it's this whole technical thing that we're not going to get into today, but our members, our CPAs are very interested in this topic. CPAs all over the country are very interested in this topic. So we've been putting out some content, an article here, an article there. And we had one of our content leaders do a really incredible PowerPoint not PowerPoint, he had PowerPoint, but like a CPE on it, right? So people tuned in, they watched him. It was great. We had, a couple hundred people attend it. Cool. Well, in my brain, I was like, I need to get this information out to the people who didn't attend that education session because they still need this content. But I didn't really want to bother our content leader to rehash everything. He's a lawyer. He has billable hours, right? So I thought, what can we do to get this content out? But I can't write it. I don't understand all of it. So I thought, well, what if AI can help me with this? Again, what if? So we took his slides and we put them into an AI called Claude. Claude is wonderful. And I said, hey, Claude, do you understand this information I'm feeding you? And it confirmed that it did. And it kind of rehashed for me. I get this, 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 and this. And I was like, wow, you understand what's happening here. I said, can you write me an article based on the content in this presentation I fed you? Oh, yeah, sure. Here you go. Here's 900 words on it. And I thought, we also had a chat going during the live presentation, similar to like what we have here, right? So people chime in on the chat. So I got the text from that, plugged it back into Claude, and I said, here's the chat that was happening during that live session. Do you understand what's happening in here? Yes, I do. Okay, now incorporate the information in the chat because there was stuff in the chat that wasn't in the presentation. And now mush all of that together and write me another article. And within 30 seconds, I had 1,000 words on the Corporate Transparency Act that integrated both what was presented and what happened in the chat. And it kind of mushed it all together in a very well-written article. Took that article, sent it to the content leader. And I said, hey, we put this together based on your presentation. We'd like to put it out in the real world. Can you just make sure that it's technically accurate? His only changes were semantics. But there was no technical information that was different. There wasn't anything wrong. It was just little like lawyer speaky things that the AI wouldn't know. I certainly wouldn't know, but he definitely knew. So within 20 minutes, and then whatever time it took him to review the article, I had a solid piece of content that now I can take out to my members so that they have additional information. And it was so cool. And
can we just stop? Yeah, I know. Like, this is the cheering part. This is the like, whoa, oh my goodness, oh my gosh. Because this is it. You're taking conversation, you're taking discussion points, you're asking ChatGPT to like, okay, Matt, like look at this, look for themes, create something that, and it's creating the structure around it. And we can, prompts, you can find all kinds of instructional type of videos and stuff to lead you down the right way to get better prompts, create better prompts. You can even use ChatGPT to create better prompts, but like whether you're using Claude, which is that your preferred generative AI tool, or do you have a preference, Liz?
So I have some. I would love to introduce the association chat community to some of our new generative AI staff members, if I can.
Oh yes, let's
Is that
please
cool?
do.
So, I mean, here's the thing, you guys, is they work cheap. They
Mm.
do require some training, but man, when you get them going, they
Yeah,
are a force. So if you'll just bear with me for 1 second, I'm gonna show off our new staff.
I would love that. Let's welcome them to the stage.
Yay!
Yay! Could you introduce your new staff to
I'm
me?
going to introduce my new staff to you all.
Yeah.
This is our generative AI team. We've been, you know, the robots are coming, but they come in peace. And so we thought we needed to be really nice to them because, you never know. But we talk about these tools so much around our office that we thought, oh, thanks, Robert. Good to see
Yeah.
you, by the way. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Um, so we have named them, and their images were generated by one of my real world rock stars. Her name is Whitney. She is incredible. And so she generated these images in Adobe Firefly for those keeping tabs at home. So I'm going to take a quick minute and introduce them to you, and then we can kind of dig in. So the first one you see, our fiery redhead, that is Gertrude P. Turner. It's ChatGPT. We use her, so we call her Gertrude, Gertie, G Dog. I mean, she's fantastic. We've been doing a lot with her as far as bot training, prompt training. In fact, our CEO built a bot that is all around the South Carolina accounting law, which I know sounds, but it's really cool because we get a lot of questions about our law and about what kind of CPE do I have to earn? And if I'm a CPA in Missouri, what do I have to do to practice in South Carolina? It understands all of that and it can answer those questions with 95% confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And that has taken quite a bit of training, and he's done a fantastic job with that, and we're rolling it out to our membership this month. We're very excited. Claude, as I mentioned, is that handsome bearded fella on top. I showed that to somebody who joked that he sort of looks like my husband, but I might end up leaving my husband for Claude because he just makes my life oh so easy. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Oh, he doesn't
If you
talk
guys are
back.
watching and you know Brad, don't rat me out.
Right.
Um, the cute little blonde there, that's Elle. The product that we use, Elle, is called 11 Labs, and that is for all of our voiceover work. So
Mm-hmm.
that is an incredible tool that can do program voices. If you, for example, if you have a blog post on your website, you want to make your website more accessible so that you have an audio clip of your article as well as the physical one, like we see in a lot of the like online newspapers. She can read that. She has about 500 different voices that you can choose from and train, of all nationalities, dialects, genders, paces, ages. I mean, pick it, she's got it. And her voice talent specialists do not say and, or like. So they read
Wow.
everything very straight. So it sounds very wonderful and professional. But if you want your own voice, there is a voice cloning capability in there as well that we have been dabbling with. It's not totally perfect. There are still some hallucinations there, but you're able to work through them. And for $5 a month, it's hard to ask for much more. Antoine is one of our voice talent specialists with the voice of an angel. He has kind of turned into our own voice. If you ever call the SCAPA office and in the rare occasion you would be put on hold, you would hear him telling you about upcoming events. On the bottom row, we have Chuck, who is the GitHub co-pilot, but we've been kind of tinkering with Microsoft Copilot now. So Chuck's growing some responsibilities in our association. Barney is Bing Chat, which if you're using Bing, he's on the sidebar all the time. I like that he cites his sources, but I don't find his answers to be quite as great as Gertrude's. But it's just training, right? And then there's Google Bard, who works alongside Google. So you asked at the beginning, is there a preferred generative AI that we like? And truly, it depends on what we're wanting. Claude is very good at technical knowledge. He writes very technically. He can also do some coding as well, or summarize PDF documents. So if we're looking for something like that, that's where we go. Gertrude is our most trainable asset these days.
I love that. And I love how, see, this is so helpful. And as you can see, this is part of a presentation that Liz has that she, can you talk a little bit about how you've used this? I shouldn't speak for you. Yeah, go ahead and talk about how you've used this.
I was, I'm going to put the share here.
All right.
I was super honored to present a version of that presentation to the St. Louis Society of Association Executives back in October. And that was such a fun presentation. Only about a handful of the folks in the room had really started tinkering with Gen AI. So walking them through some of the things at the time that we were using it for resulted in this face with most of the attendees.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I still feel it's totally fine to have that sort of face. I feel like some people, like, I feel like some people are worried about being like, amazed or feeling overwhelmed, but everyone, like, we're all, no matter how into this you are, things are happening and growing so fast. It's like magic, and it's incredible. It really is. It's okay to be like blown away. It's exciting, right? And so, it's embrace the excitement and just get ready to continue to learn as we're going. We're all learning.
Right. I think curiosity is the best thing that you can have about generative AI over fear. One, I think a lot of folks, and I think that this is true, like as a global, our community as a whole, not just associations, but just people are just kind of freaked out by it. And I think that's okay, but I think it's important to be curious and to seek out education about it. And that was another reason that I wanted to start having these conversations with people, because it is hard to spot if something is generated by an AI over a human. And we need to be wary of that, because you do still have to have kind of that, forgive the crassness, but you have to have kind of a BS detector around it. So it is a tool, not a replacement.
Right.
And we need to keep that at the forefront of everything that we do. So I presented to SLSA about it, and that went really, really well. And then, probably the funniest one I did, or one of the most fun, was I was mentioning to the pastor at my church that I had just done that. And he said, I don't know how we could ever use AI here. And I said, are you kidding? I said, you never have to write a sermon again. I was kidding, of course.
Right. But still.
So 2 weeks ago, they asked me to come in and present a version of that presentation to their staff. And that was a lot of fun, because it's a very different, it's a very different setting, but they actually had a lot in common with like what we do every day. They have members to serve. They have a mission to fulfill. They have to do more with less all the time. So it was fun to kind of expose them to this opportunity. And 3 days later, I got a text from the worship arts director, and he's like, I found one that is helping me do music arrangements. He's a songwriter, so it was
Mhm.
helping him to do arrangements. I think the most beautiful story was he was telling me, and gosh, I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this story, that he was going to use it to clone his son's voice, who is somewhat nonverbal, but he can
Mhm.
make some sounds, and he was going to put it into 11 Labs. So then his son, who can type and write
Mhm.
words but can't vocalize them, could start to actually verbalize through
Hear that.
using
Oh
the
my
AI, so they can start
gosh.
to hear. He can now say things with his own voice using the AI, which was just like the most beautiful story, and kind of like got me right here in the feels. Like that's where AI can be really beneficial because it can put us in touch with parts of ourselves we didn't know. Um, I also had the opportunity and the honor of presenting um, our AI story, Scappa's AI story, to our board of directors 2 or 3 weeks ago. And um, it was more like how our use cases are very personal use cases, not how they could use it, but they all walked away saying, I bet I can use it in my firm this way. I bet I can use it in my organization this way.
Yeah. Well, I
And
was gonna oh, go ahead,
no,
sorry.
well, because it's not, a lot of times like they with the things that they have to do. So it's not the accounting piece itself, but it's some of those generation pieces that they need help with, and it can save them time.
Yeah.
And with CPA, time is a lot of money. It is a
Yeah.
lot of money, so they need to do the best that they can do
Well,
with that.
I am constantly, I'm using it all the time.
Mhm,
And, the thing that I love using it for is I have a lot of ideas and I'm constantly thinking about, toying back and forth and sort of arguing with myself as one does. We all do this.
mm,
But so last night was a little TMI information. Like I was taking a bath. It's I'm finding times when my hands are occupied. All right.
right.
So like when I'm doing my makeup in the morning or when I am taking a bath at night, which by the way, everybody, isn't this a little Westworld? This is a little like
Stop. It's
Western kind
adorable.
of I'm like having issues with it. It's the first time if you're listening to this, you have no idea the fashion that you're missing right now. But so anyway, I love the audio version of being able to interact back and forth. I'm doing this
Mm,
with Chat GPT right now, and I go back and forth with perfecting an idea and then adding issues. Like, for
mhm,
example, there's a new program that I'm wanting to offer. I am thinking about some of the challenges and some of the things that are in the market where it's like I don't know if it's right. And this is what my challenge is. And it is going back and forth with me, helping
mhm.
me to refine the idea and work through some of the challenges.
Oh,
And
that
if
is
you're
so cool.
somebody who sits by yourself and constantly is working on a number of things, and you find yourself toying with these ideas in your mind, having just a tool that will help you kind of argue through
Right.
and work through and come up and if it comes up with 5 different options, different approaches for you, and 3 of them you've thought about, but 2 you didn't, you win, right? You're winning if you get 1 more that you didn't think about. And, so, I mean, that's how I've been using it, and so 15 minutes back and forth, the in addition to that, I end up having a record of it, so I can go back and look at the back and forth. I can ask it to put the options into a grid that I can then copy and paste later and then evaluate in a spreadsheet, and I mean, come on, folks, like, that is the
I know.
best.
It's like, I mean, and then, and especially like if you build out like a brainstorm bot in
Yeah.
ChatGPT, which you can do now, if you
Yes.
have the paid version for GPT-4, which
Mhm.
I mean, $20 a month, you guys, like it is, I mean,
Okay. This is the question. This was the
oh,
question. Our Microsoft 365 Copilot, Google Duet, AI, ChatGPT team, and enterprise, etc. And let's just pretend. Let's just pretend it's not just these specifically, but really the question is, are they
no.
worth it? Are they
Right.
worth it? Should we do the spend? What should we think about?
Okay. So here's where I'm at. Okay, so for the ChatGPT, the 20 $25 a month, We have a team. We have a little Scappa GPT team, which is $25 a month per user. Right now,
Mhm.
there's just two of us that are using it. We will be expanding it to staff soon, but we're kind of like testing it to see, because that's what you do with anything, right? Like you
Right.
test it first. Is there true value here? And what's so cool about that is building your own bots. ChatGPT has made it so easy. In fact, you mentioned to Meath earlier, I'm going to plug his podcast, and I swear, you guys, he's not paying me to do it. But he and Mallory Mejias have a great podcast called The Sidecar Sync
Mhm.
that I highly recommend. And right after GPT released its ability to build your own bot, they had a really great conversation about that. So I encourage you to go back and listen to it. But it is so intuitive to just start building your own bots in there. So we have a prompt builder bot that will build prompts for us. We have a Dolly prompter, because I was really struggling with getting Dolly to provide images for me that I liked.
Mhm.
So we built a Dolly prompt engineer. We I'm building a customer service bot that will help if like our frontline person is off for the day and somebody has to answer those emails and maybe they don't know how to answer all of the things. I'm actually training it to sound like her. So we're having a lot of fun with that. But it's just playing with it, right? And then what happens is if I build a bot that's really great and Chris builds a bot that's really great, we can share those bots with each other. And
Can
then
we
they're
talk about can I interrupt really fast because
yeah.
I was just even though I thought about the customer service bots, because I'm not personally using it at work, I'm like, whatever. But then I just realized that for the Women's Club of Winona, little tiny Women's Club of
Yeah.
Winona that I'm the president for, we get requests right now. The biggest request is like farmers market applications and stuff like that. Very typical type of customer service, like somebody's emailing regularly for
Uh-huh.
this type of information. Would you come on at some point and do like a here's how I like put together customer
Sure.
service bots type of
Yeah.
thing? Like this is our process. Because
Yeah.
I think that that would be so cool. I think a lot of people could use that. And if you're listening and or watching this right now, will you comment if you agree that you would like to learn how to make these customer service bots and like teach them on what your association needs? Because I have to tell you, this whole time, even though we've been getting comments from Robert and Reed and Whitney and different people, it still says 0 people are watching right now on my screen. So if you would like to learn about this, give me some sort of clue that this is something you'd like to learn about. And I'll be watching over here in the chat just to get some confirmation. But anyway, we can move on.
Um,
Go ahead.
well, and here's the other thing I'll say about bots is one thing that I've been learning about, and another resource that I would recommend if you haven't already listened to is Jordan Wilson's Everyday AI podcast, and also give him a follow on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
And he has a really great free prompt building webinar that he does, and he actually does it live, which is really cool. He has a lot of energy. Oh my gosh. Like
Okay, now who is this?
his name is
Everyday AI.
Jordan Wilson
Yeah.
with Everyday AI. Um,
Okay.
and I find him to be really, really he puts things in a way that I can make sense of them. And he
Hmm.
talked a lot about when you go to train your chat GPT or your generative AI. And by doing these bots, they don't forget things because you've programmed them in, right? But like if you have just like a chat on your sidebar of your default chat GPT, eventually it will start to forget things. But when you build them in a bot, it's inherent knowledge. Oh, hi Debbie. I see Debbie there on the side.
Yeah, she says would love to. There are a lot of
Yeah.
people who are watching saying they'd love that. Just so you know that that's happening over there. So, and I love it. Robert's like talking about, the most fun and most productive actions we've taken is to train our
Uh-huh.
own Betty for her own website. She's trained on every question we've ever been asked about in demos, meetings. She knows all about herself and our company. association executives are having a great time learning about us from her directly, which means they spend less time in demos. And that's the thing, is that there are some amazing tools. I'm actually going to be talking to Robert and his team really soon on the podcast. So be watching for that. But it's just, and the reference that you made earlier, this is to Your Everyday AI. If you go to youreverydayai.com, you can sign up for his newsletter and more about the podcast there too. But there's some really great information out there, and definitely some interesting resources and references that you've been sharing.
Yeah.
Reese says it shows 7 people here. Yeah, I don't know. Between YouTube and LinkedIn, there should be more, I think, definitely, from what we're seeing in the comments. So thanks. Go team. Thank you. And actually, Whitney said that earlier. Go team. She was talking about I think your AI new hires.
Yeah, she's I'm so happy to see Whitney and Debbie here. They're 2 of our rock stars
Awesome.
at Scappa. So I'm just so happy to see that they're here hanging
Oh,
out
that's
with
great.
us and learning
All
more.
right. So, we've talked about when people are just starting to explore. We've talked about some of the ways that they can, maybe integrate AI into their workflow. Let's talk a little bit about like leveraging the AI capabilities and the human element. That's one thing. I hear people pushing back on AI quite a bit because they're talking about too much automation. We're taking the human out of associations and stuff like that. What are your thoughts about how to better balance that human and technology sort of question?
Gosh, Kiki, that's such a great question. And here's where I land with it. As wonderful as these bots are, and as wonderful as our little team that I showed you, they will never have empathy. They will never have a heart. Brains maybe, but never heart. And I think that, at the end of the day, associations, we're a people business, right? Like, we're in the business of people. It's not about the education we offer, and it's not about the newsletters we put out. It's about the people. And AI will never replace that. So my other thing when, I talk to people about it is, you can never take it at first pass, right? Reggie Henry said, one of the first times I sat in on a webinar about AI, he goes, treat the output as if it came from an intern. And that has been kind of my golden rule with it. Never trust, always verify, always review. It has to have a human thumbprint on it, or it feels hollow. It just doesn't feel quite right. Robert, I see your comment that AI is giving us back time and energy to focus on the humanness again. Yes, that's absolutely it. We can enhance our personal connections with our team and with our members because we're not buried in the minutia every day. So
Right.
I think that it actually enables us to be more empathic and more heartfelt with our members because again, like the warm and fuzzy stuff, that's going to pay back dividends, especially as we continue to strive for relevance and enhance our value propositions. So to those critics, I would say I respectfully disagree.
Yeah.
I respectfully disagree. I think that there's room for both. There's room for both.
Well, so let's talk a little bit about some of the, I don't know, the most surprising or enlightening realizations that you've had about the role of AI, specifically like generative AI in our association industry. What are some of those things? Because you're very creative. A lot of you who are watching this may have figured this out, but Liz, she's both analytical, she's logical, she's also very creative. So an imaginative person who can also be very practical with the way she applies that is powerful. Okay. And so what are some of the things that I don't know have sort of I guess impressed or given you some sort of inspiration or surprise?
That's a good question. One is the speed at which it is growing. I mean, guys, ChatGPT is only a year and a half old.
I
Like
know.
when
I
you
know.
think about that and you think like it went the just the that I mean just that it came out in November of 2022.
Yeah.
But it's household now, right? So
You
that
think it's household, and then I talk to people, Liz, then I talk to people who
I know.
still it's kind of like it's a little they're leery of going in that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that has surprised me quite a bit, and fascinated me because I feel like, talked about the presentation that I offer. I've had to rewrite it 3 times because every time I
Mhm.
present it, something is different and new, and
Mhm.
something that's in it is outdated. So but I think that's so fun, right? Like I I don't like stagnation, so let's just keep going. The other thing that has really surprised me and inspired me is that it is so accessible to everyone. Like
Mhm.
you think like, "Oh, I'm not a very technical person, so I can't program a bot. I'm not a very technical person, so I can't figure out how to prompt correctly. I'm not a technical person, so I can't figure out just how to use ChatGPT." That is not true. Anyone can anyone can use it.
Mhm.
Um, and it is actually designed not for technical people. Um, when we were discussing this internally, Chris, our CEO, he's a big techie by trade. That's what he does. So when it comes to the way that he communicates his code, he's very succinct, very sentences are short. There's not a lot of room for fuzziness. This is what it is. ChatGPT doesn't love that. It really doesn't. It likes language because it is a large language model. It likes to pick up on all of those nuances. We use the word verbose. It likes the wordiness because then it has more to build off of. You get out of it what you put into it. So if you put in something very short, you're going to get something back that's very short and it might miss your mark. The more you can feed it, the more information
Mhm.
you can give it, the better your response is going to be. And that has really surprised me, especially as somebody who, like in my own writing, has tried to become very succinct and very
Right.
efficient in
Right.
words, kind of a slave to word count. But
Yeah.
this has enabled me to explore new ways of using descriptive language that I never really had before.
That's such a good point because I really do feel like, we've been for years and years trained to, and I mean, I studied journalism in school. So it was like
Mhm,
trained to think Hemingway versus Dostoevsky, right? You've got 3 pages describing the fields of gold with Dostoevsky. And then you've got, the fields were gold. With so
you know
and with Chat GPT or Bard or any of these large language models, like to your point, this idea of how you think about the end result that you're looking for, they're operating off of language, they're also operating off of context. So
Mhm,
when you're feeding them say an interview like this, I've been playing around with how to use transcripts after I go through a
mhm,
podcast and do an interview. Liz, later I'm going to be I'm going to upload this as a transcript, and I'm going to be playing around with like what can we do with the content with
mhm,
this. And it's one thing to just load it up and say, okay, based on what I'm going to ask you to create an article.
mhm,
It's another thing to say, here are my rules. Here's what I think a good article is
mhm,
based off of what you know about my voice, right? Like if you've trained it on your voice and you've actually developed it that way, um, creating that sort of context for these different tools that we're using is the way that you get a better and more interesting sort of response. And so,
right.
I think that's why I loved this idea of talking with you today, because I thought we're talking about the how we are doing it.
Mhm,
How do you do it to instead of the should we, which should we, lots of discussion about like, people who are trying to write. I always use research papers on dolphins and like, are they plagiarizing? Way less interesting to me right now than the practical use of how can I give it the context and like take this unique information that I have and then recraft it in a number of ways so that I can use this and be better and better and better, right?
Right.
And get more done. And so just excellent stuff. I love talking with you. We were talking before this, everyone, about like it could be a 3-hour thing. It won't be,
Oh
but
yeah.
it could be.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Carlos
thanks,
says
Carlos.
GPT likes verbose. Great point, Liz. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah. So what are you playing with now? Like now,
Now.
what are you? I shared one of the things that I'm doing,
Yeah.
and just well, actually a couple interacting. I'm doing more with audio and getting used to saying things out loud and playing with the air.
Mhm.
And then the other thing that I'm doing is I'm definitely playing with how I am using some of the content from interactions like these, like
Mhm.
interviews from podcasts and stuff.
So what am I playing with now? You know, I think it was last week, 2 weeks ago, and the people who are tuning in are probably aware of this, that Microsoft 365 allowed Copilot licenses for organizations with fewer than 300 seats, which was kind of a big deal. So
Yeah.
we are playing with that internally. We have a small test team going. It's myself, our CFO, COO, and our CEO who we're looking to see if it's worth it, right? Like we talk about
Yeah.
cost. Um, you know, ChatGPT is, 20, $25 a month. Copilot is a bit more than
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So we've been looking at different avenues that we can really use that. There are things I really like about it and things I don't. I'll start with the things I don't because that's, you start with the bad and you go to the good, right? Things
Yeah.
I don't love. And I could be saying these things and I just don't know that it can do those things. So if anybody in the chat can correct me, I'm totally open to that because we're all here to learn. So using Copilot and Outlook is really wonderful for helping you either draft an email. Oh man, somebody sent me that email and I want to respond this way, but I know I can't respond this way. So I'm going to say, draft me an email that I'm angry. I want to communicate that I'm angry, but I can't say the words that I want to say. And then you can say, I need it to be friendly. I need it to be stern. I need it to be neutral, direct. Make it a poem because I guess
Mhm.
Microsoft engineers were just having fun that day. You can tell Copilot that the email can be long, short, medium length. You can, of course, always edit. It's not going to send anything without you looking at it first. Or you've written an email and you just want Copilot to spot check it for you. It can do some coaching, which is great.
Mhm.
What I really want it to do is similar to what it does in Teams, where I say, hey, Copilot, I sent this email about this topic to this person. Help me find that email because I don't know
Oh
where
my
I don't
gosh.
know where I saved it.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
I can't figure out how to do that. So if somebody here knows how to do that, please tell me. It can do this in Teams. It can do file finding in Teams, which is great if your
Mhm.
files are saved there. But I can't figure out how to make it happen in Outlook. So
Hey, out of curiosity, for those who are watching right now, just out of curiosity, how many of you are using something like Microsoft 365, where Copilot would be something that you're looking at right now? I know at Big Red M internally right now, this is a discussion that we're having about like how we want to use it. Do we want to use it? Who should start using it first? I'm going to start using it just to try it out. But like, I'm just curious how many of you out there, especially from associations, but really anybody. How many of you are starting to wonder about Copilot yourselves? So just respond in the chat, or even when you hear this later, because I always go back and get notifications when people respond. Very, very curious because, as we learn these tips and these things, I agree, Liz. That's something I would immediately want to use it for
right.
because that's searching and hunting things
And
down.
it's not, as far as I can tell, it's not there. It's not there yet. And here's the other thing with
Mhm.
Microsoft is we know that they're constantly improving their products.
Mhm. True.
So it might be there someday.
Tomorrow. Yeah.
Um, on the Excel piece, It is still saying that it is in preview. I haven't messed with it very much because what I use Excel for is very different than what like our CFO uses it for. I use it more for like data sorting, names, addresses, that kind of data. And it's not functioning for that right now. It's only functioning for tables and numbers, I think. So I haven't really messed with it in Excel much. Word, I am loving it. I have been putting together some new like project proposals and product proposals and sponsorship proposals or fulfillment pieces, like anything that I maybe could sit and absolutely come up with a different template or whatever. If I want to, like, I was putting together a fulfillment schedule for a new sponsor that we had come on board. And I just went to Copilot and I said, I need a template for a sponsorship proposal or a sponsorship or whatever it was. And it generated the whole thing for me, even with dummy text to show me like, put the introduction here, put the agreement part here. Here's the table that I've already laid out for you with sample things. Like it was just done. And it was great. I loved it. The other thing that it will do that is really cool, that similar to what I talked about Claude doing earlier with the CTA presentation, you can attach a presentation or a PDF or something to Copilot in Word and say, generate text about this, generate an article, generate a story, generate whatever. So it's taking that power from Claude, but it's put it now into Microsoft Word, which is
I love that.
which is very cool. On the flip side of that, in PowerPoint, you can use Copilot to generate PowerPoint slides for you. So as I was playing with it, because I was just test driving, I asked Copilot, you're going to love this, Kiki, because this is just so me. I said, Copilot, write me a 10 slide presentation on why Walt Disney World is the ideal vacation destination, not just for families, but also for adults with no children.
Okay. And was it good? Was it convincing?
I mean, I was convinced, but let's be honest, it doesn't take a lot. For those of you who don't know me, I have a Disney problem in my life.
Is it a problem? It's no. Most magical place on earth.
It's the most magical place we had. I mean, you know, Disney's everywhere in our home. I think you can sort of see my Mickey. He's right there. But it was good, but it still needed a human touch. There was some information that it generated that was outdated. Disney no longer offers Fast Pass. Now it's Genie Plus, and that was not in the slideshow. So there were things that, again, human touch, we still have to review. We can't trust it, take it at face value. We always have to verify. But the templates were there. The photos were there. Everything was already kind of laid out. So then it kind of becomes this template for you to work off of. I'm sure it can do things that are actually relevant that have nothing to do with taking a Disney vacation. But this is what I play with.
Yes.
Because it's something that it's familiar, right?
I think that this is such a great example, though, as far as if you're wanting to explore, if you're wanting to feel more comfortable with using some of these tools, take a page from Liz's book here and like think about I started playing with it with everything from like recipes to like I have these ingredients, give me something I can make in 15 minutes or less. I mean, I use these tools and really test them out in all kinds of different ways with practical everyday things that maybe it's not even for work, but it's something that you're just like, you would know if it's close enough or close to it. And then once you have that trust, then you can begin to play around with it because you always have to, it's like, if it's from an intern, you always have to give it a better view. But once you begin to understand how these tools put things together, it helps you to become better at using them and getting better and better responses. And so Lauren says, discernment is so important with AI. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, okay. We are wrapping it up. No. I can't believe it.
I can't talk to you all day long.
So good. So good. You were amazing. Amazing, Liz. Thank you so much for joining me today. Do you have any final words for people before we head off? And those of you who are sticking around and want to go and jump over to do the recap for the week, we're starting that up this week. So if you're watching this live, that is, and you want to go do the recap, make sure you email me and email me at kiki@bigredm.com. And I just put it up on the screen. I can send you the Zoom link real fast because that's where I'm going to be going in about 5 minutes. But anyway, recap, thoughts for people.
So if you have not started tinkering with this stuff yet, just go. You can't break it.
Yeah.
It won't break you. Just try it. Just try messing around with it. Just ask yourself, what if it can help me with this? What if it can help me with this one singular task? It does not have to be this big gargantuan. I think a lot of times when we talk about tech, it gets really scary and big because it's usually expensive. This is not. I think we've shown that it's not. So just play with it. You can't break it. It can't break you. And you never know what you're going to uncover. So just be curious, search stuff out, just even if it's just for a half an hour a day, just to find something to play with and just see. You never know until you try. And it may save you 45 minutes a week. It may save you 3 hours a week. It may save you 10 hours a week. You don't know until you try. So just, if you've not gotten there, just be curious, be excited, be open-minded, and just go. If you're down this road, let's keep this conversation going. Kiki has me tagged in her posts. I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. If you want more information about if you have a board or if you have a staff that maybe needs an outside perspective, let me know. I would love to talk with them. This stuff is fun, you guys, and we're at a really exciting time, and we can't be behind the 8 ball on this. We have to keep in front of it because our members expect it and our teams expect it. And it's going to be one of those things like, what do you mean you don't have a website? What do you mean you don't use AI? We have to get in front of it. So be curious and have fun. Just have fun with it. It's awesome.
I love it. All right. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Chills. I actually really do have chills. I really appreciate Liz joining me today, and I hope that all of you got something out of that too. Listen, I agree with everything that she said. I think that you absolutely need to be exploring and thinking about the ways that you can use this. Reach out to her, connect with her. She's a wonderful person to know for so many different reasons. Super smart, super open about sharing what she's learning in her association profession, career experience. Just a great person to know in general. And be curious. And that's the thing that I think we really need to think about, as always. I'm glad that all of you could tune in. Your engagement, your enthusiasm is what makes all of this keep going. I'm thankful to Liz for joining us today and being able to share all of her knowledge. And I hope to have her back to talk to us more about how to create some customer service bots, maybe for your association. But remember, you can revisit this episode. You can subscribe and keep getting information. You should tune in next week for our next great interview. And in the meantime, this is me signing off, saying stay curious and keep asking questions to learn every day. Why? Because as Joseph Campbell once said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Have a great rest of the week, everyone.